What if World War III isn't a future fantasy, but something already in motion? The next global conflict won't start like the last. It'll be silent, digital, sudden, and devastating. In today's video, we'll uncover 10 real-world flashpoints that could ignite the biggest war in human history. From superpowers on edge to invisible cyber weapons, these aren't conspiracy theories. These are real threats, backed by military experts, intelligence reports, and current events. Let's break it down. 10. USA versus China. The new Cold War in the 20th century was the US versus the Soviet Union. In the 21st, it's the US versus China. These two juggernauts are locked in a tech race, a military buildup, and a global power struggle. From the South China Sea to TikTok, if China decides to challenge American dominance in the Pacific and the US pushes back, it won't just be a trade war. It'll be jets, ships, and missiles. Taiwan could be the first domino, but it won't be the last. 9. A Taiwan invasion. Taiwan is the most likely spark for a WW3 level conflict. China has promised to reunify the island by force if necessary. But Taiwan's not alone. The US supplies it weapons, and multiple defense agreements suggest American involvement if it's attacked. Japan and Australia could follow, turning a regional war into a global one. The US Indo-Pacific Command even runs simulations, and most show massive escalation. 8. NATO versus Russia. Russia's war in Ukraine is the largest European conflict since World War II. But here's the catch. If Russia attacks a single NATO country, even by accident, Article 5 of the NATO treaty kicks in. That means every NATO member, including the US, must respond. Poland, the Baltics, even Finland, all on Russia's doorstep. All it takes is one missile over the wrong border, and NATO is legally bound to strike back. 7. Cyber warfare could trigger a real war. Forget boots on the ground. The next war could start with a click. State-backed hackers are already breaching power grids, stealing nuclear secrets, and disrupting communication systems. If a cyber attack causes civilian deaths, like hospitals shutting down, it could be interpreted as an act of war. And countries like the US, China, Russia, Iran, and North Korea already have cyber armies standing by. 6. Nuclear proliferation. The more countries with nukes, the more unstable the world becomes. Right now, 9 nations officially have nuclear weapons, but others, like Iran, may be closer than we think. North Korea has dozens of warheads and a missile that could hit US soil. What happens if one rogue state launches, or even claims it's ready to launch? Nuclear deterrence only works when everyone's rational. 5. AI and autonomous weapons. Imagine this. AI-controlled drones selecting and eliminating targets without human input. Sounds like sci-fi, right? It's already happening. Autonomous weapons are being tested worldwide. But what if the AI makes the wrong call? Or gets hacked? Once war becomes automated, human emotion and diplomacy are taken out of the equation. 4. Climate collapse equals resource wars. War doesn't need enemies. Sometimes it just needs desperation. As climate change worsens, countries are fighting over fresh water, farmland, and clean air. Regions like the Middle East, Sub-Saharan Africa, and parts of Asia are already seeing climate migration, famine, and failed states. If millions are forced to move, and nations can't absorb them, borders will burn. Climate isn't just about weather, it's about war. 3. The Middle East powder keg. Israel, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Hezbollah, US bases. This region is a maze of alliances, rivalries, and religious tensions, and it's always one step from exploding. Israel has launched strikes inside Iran. Iran funds militias across the region. The US has been pulled in before and could be again. If Iran gets nukes or Israel preemptively strikes to stop them, expect global fallout. 2. Global economic collapse. History proves it. Collapsed economies lead to wars. When people are broke, hungry, and angry, they follow whoever promises strength, even if it means going to war. Hyperinflation, mass unemployment, bank failures. If the global economy tanks again, worse than 2008, the political fallout could push desperate nations into violent action. 1. Miscommunication or accidental escalation. The most terrifying reason for World War III: human error. In 1983, a Soviet officer named Stanislav Petrov ignored a false nuclear warning and may have saved the world. Modern systems are faster, more automated, and more fragile. One radar glitch, one mistranslation, one panic move, that's all it takes. And we've gotten lucky, so far. The next world war won't look like the last. It may not even have a warning. The truth is, the pieces are already on the board, and no one's quite sure who will move first. If you found this video eye-opening, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment. Which of these do you think is most likely to trigger World War III? Or are we already in the early stages? Stay curious and stay aware.